Alright guys, so I am back again with another deck profile for Cardfight Vanguard Dear Days on Nintendo Switch. This time we got version 2 of my Keter Sanctuary Bastion deck. So version 2, everything through the additional special set, so through the final DLC for this game, which takes us through a fraction of the booster set 11. And this deck has received a handful of new cards that just helps with the deck's overall consistency, as well as also giving us a different method to give our rear guards boost. And of course Bastion also got his ride-up card as well, just like all the other grade 4 forms. So as always, we'll be going through the deck, and then we'll show it off in one card fight. So starting first with the ride deck, it is the same as before. So we have our grade 0 starter, Knight of Heavenly Bow base. So when he's rode upon, if you win second, draw a card. Same old starter skill. Next for the grade 1, we have Knight of Heavenly Sword Fort. So he has his auto ability that says when this unit is rode upon by Knight of Heavenly Spear Rooks, you reveal 2 grade 3 cards from your hand. To reveal the top card of your deck, and call it to rearguard circle if it is a unit card, and put it into your drop if it isn't. So of course there is that RNG factor on this ability since it's a top deck call, so hopefully you get a good rearguard out of it. There is that chance you get a perfect guard or trigger or something that you don't really want to call, but there's nothing you can really do about that. And of course if you do find an order, it just goes to the drop, so you get nothing out of it in that case. So your mileage may vary on that skill. And then he also has an activate ability when he's on rearguard circle that says once per turn you can counterblast 1 to choose one of your grade 3 Vanguards, and he gets power plus 5,000 until end of turn. So that skill is not very good, but it's also not used ever anyway because he never really ends up on rearguard circle. So next for the grade 2, we have Knight of Heavenly Spear Rooks. So his auto ability says when this unit is rode upon by Apex Ruler Bastion, you reveal 3 grade 3 cards from your hand and draw a card. So a bit better of an ability, letting you draw instead of do a superior call. So it is a free +1 to your hand as long as you have at least 3 grade 3s in your hand when you ride into Bastion, when it shouldn't be much of a problem since most of the deck is grade 3s. And again, he has a continuous ability when he's on rearguard circle that says during your turn, if you have 3 or more grade 3 units, this unit gets boost and power plus 5,000. So again, a bit better of an ability, but it's also never really used since he doesn't end up on rearguard either, really. So then lastly for the grade 3, we have Apex Ruler Bastion. So he has his continuous ability that says during your turn, all of your grade 3 units get power plus 2,000. So just a slight power up skill. And then his auto ability that says once per turn, at the end of the battle that your drive check revealed a grade 3, you can discard a card from your hand to choose one of your rear guards, stand it, and it gets power plus 10,000 until end of turn. So a pretty nice ability. You just gotta check into a grade 3 and it lets you stand one of your rear guards, as well as powering them up by 10k. So it gives you your 4th attack, and again, all your rear guards should be grade 3 units. So between the first skill, powering them up, and this skill, they should be at a minimum of 25k at that point. So a pretty decent offensive ability, but of course he is not actually the main boss of this deck, so you're only usually on him for 1 turn at the most. Because moving on to the main deck, the first card we have is 4 copies of our grade 4, the real boss unit for this deck, Apex Surpassing Sword Bastion Prime. So he has a continuous ability that says during your turn, all of your front row units get power plus 2,000. So technically a weaker skill than regular Bastion since it only powers up your front row and not all of your grade 3s. But it doesn't really make much of a practical difference in practice. So then he also has his auto ability that says once per turn, at the end of the battle, your drive check revealed a grade 3 or greater card. You can put a card with Bastion in its card name from your hand or soul into your drop to stand all of your grade 3 rearguards, and they get power plus 10,000 until end of turn. So an extremely powerful skill, letting you restand potentially all of your rear guards on your board. So it can give you up to 5 attacks in one turn. It also powers up all of those rear guards, so they should be hitting for some very big numbers, especially if you can give your back row boost and restand your entire columns, powering them both up. That'll be an extra 20k to both those rear guard columns. Now it does require you to check into a grade 3 or greater card, so if you check a grade 3 or a grade 4, you can activate this ability, which you are more likely to do since he does inherently have triple drive. And it does require you to send a Bastion from your hand or soul to your drop, which is actually easier to do in this deck now thanks to one of the new support cards we have added. So overall, just a very powerful boss unit for this deck. So that is the only grade 4 we have, so moving on to the grade 3s, that is of course the majority of the deck. So first off, we do have 2 additional copies of Apex Ruler Bastion, which this is just here to, make it easier to pay Bastion Prime's cost, to have some more Bastion names floating around. So next we have 4 copies of Grand Heavenly Sword Alden. So he has 2 auto abilities. First one, when this unit is placed on rearguard circle, you can Counterblast 2 and Soul Blast 1 to choose a card from your hand and call it to rearguard circle. And if you called a grade 3, you draw 2 cards. So the primary draw engine for this deck, he lets you call 1 and draw 2. Is kind of a steep cost since it's a Counterblast 2 and a Soul Blast 1. But this deck actually isn't too bad on resources, especially since your Vanguard isn't really using many. So you shouldn't really have much of a problem being able to use this at least once per game. And then he's got his second auto ability that says when this unit attacks, if you have 3 or more grade 3 units, this unit gets power plus 5,000 until end of turn. So he powers himself up, and this ability can stack if you restand him off of Bastion skill, since that power gain lasts until end of turn. So if you attack with him a second time, he'll actually gain a total of 10k for that second attack. Now, he does require you to have 3 or more grade 3 units on your board, so himself will obviously be 1, so you just need 2 more. Now, if you do ride into Bastion Prime, he's a grade 4, so that won't count for this ability, so do keep that in mind. So next we have 3 copies of Brave on Sky Trimmer Rondalia. So she has 2 activate abilities. First one says if you have a Vanguard with Bastion in its card name, you can put this unit into your soul to choose one of your Vanguards, and it gets a new continuous ability until end of turn that says all of your grade 3 rear guards get boost. And then she has a second activate ability when she's in your soul that says that you can put this card into your drop to choose one of your grade 3 rear guards, and it gets boost until end of turn. So this is the replacement for the Pride to Protect set order that we were using before to give our rear guards boost. This is the only way to give your rear guards boost in this deck now, but you can put her from rear guard into soul to give all of your grade 3s boost for that one turn, and then you can turn around and soul blast her out of your soul in order to give one of your grade 3 rear guards boost for a single turn as well. So she is a -1, but Pride to Protect was a -2 since you had to discard to play it, and at least she does turn herself into a resource, and or, sets up her second ability if you want to soul blast her out in order to give one unit the boost for the next turn. Plus she can be a body on your board as well, so if you end up with like 2 copies of her in your hand, you can call 1 and shove it into soul to give all your units boost, and then call the second copy to the back row and have her boost for that turn, and then next turn just shove that second copy into your soul to give your units boost again. So a more versatile option than the set order we had before. So next up, we got 3 copies of Heavenly Arrow of Sure Hit Sparar. So he has an auto ability when he's on the front row rearguard circle that says when this unit is stand by your Vanguard's ability, you can Soul Blast 2 and draw a card. And then he has a continuous ability when he's on your back row rearguard circle that says during your turn, all of your other rearguards in the same column as this unit get power plus 5,000. So when he's on your front row, he can be a good draw engine for this deck. I usually like having him on the front row on my grade 3 turn when I'm using Apex Ruler Bastion skill, since I can give you that early draw power. And then when he's on your back row, he can be a 5 to 18k booster, essentially, depending on whether or not you gave your rear guards boost. So a good card for increasing both your card advantage and the power of some of your attacks. So next up, we have 2 copies of Heavenly Blade of Val Flint. So he has a continuous ability that says during your turn, if your Vanguard is Apex Surpassing Sword, Bastion Prime, this unit gets power plus 5,000. And he also has his auto ability that says when this unit stands by your card's effect, if your opponent's Vanguard is grade 3 or greater, this unit gets another power plus 5,000 until end of turn. So this card is just a good beat stick. He can be a 18 to 23k body on your board. So he can make for a good attacker, he can make for a good booster, again if you give him boost with Rondalia's ability. So he's just a nice filling in your board kind of a card. He's not necessary really, so if you want to take him out and maybe run some extra copies of Rondalia or whoever else in the deck, you can have that option. But I do just like having him for that little extra power gain. So next we have 2 copies of Sage of Improvement, Robrone. So she has an activate ability that says if you have a Vanguard with Bastion in its card name, and your opponent's Vanguard is grade 3 or greater, you can counterblast one and put this unit into your soul. To choose up to 1 grade 4 unit card with Bastion in its card name from your hand, and ride it as stand. So this is the ride up card for the deck, potentially letting you ride into your grade 4 form on turn 3. Now that does only work if you went second, since it requires your opponent's Vanguard to be at least grade 3. But it can significantly speed up the deck if you do go second, letting you immediately go into Bastion Prime if you have it in your hand. Now this is technically a -1 since it puts itself into the soul in order to use this ability, but that does give you the extra resource out of it. And of course when you ride over the grade 3 Bastion, you can just soul blast out that form for Bastion Prime's ability in order to restand your rear guards. So the minus doesn't hurt too much. And the Regales piece, which we'll be going over here in a second, does actually make this really consistent. If you can, luck into drawing the Regales piece. But it can search out this card and the grade 4 Bastion Prime in order to use this combo. So a very helpful card for this deck, which there actually is one other sort of niche combo you can do with this card if you have a copy of it in your hand, along with a copy of the grade 3 and the grade 4 Bastion. What you can do is you can actually, on turn 4, you can Persona Ride into the grade 3 Bastion, so you'll get the power gain for your front row and the extra draw. And then you can call Robrone and use her skill to still go into the grade 4 Bastion, and you'll get to keep that power gain from the Persona Ride and still be able to use Bastion Prime's full skill. So that can make your 5 attacks that much stronger since you'll power up your entire front row, and that can just make for a really devastating finisher for your opponent, since you'll be hitting such insane numbers between the Persona Ride bonus and Bastion Prime's power-up skill that it'll be really difficult for your opponent to block all that. So that is a pretty cool play I like doing with this card as well. So next up we got 2 copies of Heavenly Enclasp Dragon, Embrace Dragon. So it has an auto ability that says when this unit is put on Guardian Circle, you choose one of your grade 2 or greater units being attacked, and it gets power plus 10,000 until the end of that battle. And if you chose a grade 4 card, it gets power plus 20,000 instead of plus 10,000. So just a 10 to 20k shield depending on when you use this card. So just some extra defense for the deck, which is always helpful since we do have to run so many, shieldless cards in this deck. Now you want to avoid calling this card if you can, since it is just a vanilla 12k on your board. So you definitely want to keep it in hand for defensive purposes instead. But it can be a nice up to 20k shield. So then lastly for the grade 3s, we have one copy of our normal order Regales piece, Forbidal Surrogate. So there's no cost to play it, and it lets you search your deck or drop for up to a total of 2 grade 3 or 4 unit cards with different card names and reveal them. Then you can call all the revealed grade 3 cards to Rearguard Circle, and put all revealed grade 4 cards into your hand, and if you search the deck, shuffle the deck. So this card is a good card for any of the, grade 4 decks, but it is absolutely the best in Bastion, since, almost our entire deck consists of grade 3s. This card can grab basically any 2 grade 3s you want from your deck and get them onto your board. So it is a free +1 either way, and it can make it really easy to get the combo pieces that you need. You can search out Alden to use his skill and draw even more. You can search out Robrone to do your superior ride into Bastion Prime, potentially searching out a copy of Bastion Prime to get into your hand as well, if you need a copy in your hand. If you're already on Bastion Prime, but you need another Bastion in your hand in order to pay his cost that turn, you can just search out a second copy of Prime to use for that discard cost later, as well as still, getting any unit you want on your board, grabbing a Rondalia, grabbing a Spirar, basically anything you need, you can grab from your deck with this card. So an extremely useful ability. Of course, what you target with this depends on what you have in your hand at the moment, but a lot of the times I end up using this to search out Robrone and a copy of Bastion Prime, so that way I can just use Robrone's ability to immediately superior ride into Bastion Prime, which again makes it easy to do that potential, Persona Ride, Superior Ride combo I just mentioned earlier as well. So yeah, definitely a must-have for this deck. Of course, you can only run the one copy of it since it is a Regales piece, but if you do manage to see this card during a game, it's pretty much always a good thing. So that is all the grade 3s. Normally I'd move on to the grade 2s, but we actually don't have any grade 2s in the main deck. So I'll move on to the grade 1s, which actually we do have a new grade 1 added to the deck now. We have 3 copies of Sapient Owl. So he has a continuous ability that's active on Rearguard Circle, in your hand, and in the trigger zone. That says during your turn, if you have a Vanguard with Bastion in its card name, this card gets grade +2 and power +2000. So this is a very helpful ability, since when he's on your Rearguard Circle, that makes him a 10k body, as well as a grade 3. So that means he can be restood by Bastion's ability. When he's in your hand, he also counts as a grade 3. So that means you can reveal him from your hand in order to pay your ride deck costs for Rooks and Fort. And when he's in your trigger zone, he also counts as a grade 3. So that means he will trigger the abilities for both your Bastion forms. So basically he's a grade 1 card that you can run in this deck without hurting the deck's consistency at all, since he counts as a grade 3 everywhere you would need him to be a grade 3. So very helpful ability, and he also has an auto skill that says when this unit is placed on Rearguard Circle, if you have a Vanguard with Bastion in its card name, you can put a grade 3 or greater card from drop into your soul to choose one of your Vanguards, and it gets power +5000 until end of turn. And if you put a card with Bastion in its card name for this cost, and you did not countercharge this turn, you countercharge 1. So a very helpful on-call ability as well, since he can give you a extra soul and potentially a countercharge as well if you grab a Bastion to put into your soul from drop. Which is even more helpful since, since you can recycle that Bastion into your soul, you can then Soul Blast it out for Bastion Prime's ability. So that makes it more consistent for you to be able to pay his cost every turn. If you don't have another copy of any Bastion in your hand, you can just grab the one from your ride deck that you already Soul Blasted out and get it back into your soul to use again. If you already have some Bastions in your hand and you don't need the counter charge and you just want to put, any grade 3 from your drop into soul just to have the extra soul in order to use like Sparar's ability or something. You can do that as well. It can also grab a Rondalia back from your drop and put her back to Soul, and then you can use her in the Soul ability to give one of your rear guards boost as well. So a pretty versatile ability, letting you either, fuel your Vanguard's cost while also countercharging, or potentially letting you reuse some of your other Soul-based abilities. So overall, this is just a fantastic card for the deck. And of course, it being a grade 1 does mean that it inherently has boost. So you can get it on your board as a 10k booster without needing to use Rondalia. And it also inherently has the 5k shield, so it can be a defensive card if you need some more blocking power as well. So overall, a fantastic card for this deck. Again, if you want to take out like Flint or somebody and up this to 4, you can go that route. But I am just keeping it at 3 for now. I generally think that's enough. But yeah, I absolutely love this card for this deck, not only for its great abilities, but also because it is an owl. And if you couldn't tell from the channel name, I do love my owls. So the only other grade 1 in the deck is our Sentinel, so we have 4 copies of Aegismayer Dragon, just your standard Perviguard. So that is all the grade 1s. Moving on to the grade 0s, we just have our trigger lineup, which is 7 crit, 4 draw, 4 heal, and 1 over. So starting first with the crit triggers, we have 3 copies of Knight of Heavenly Hammer, Gargant. So just the vanilla crit. Additionally, we have 4 copies of Blade Feather Dragon. So crit with a skill at the end of the battle at boosted, you can put it into your soul to choose one of your units and give it power plus 2,000 until end of turn. So generally the only time I use this ability is if I superior call it off of the Ride Line skill. It ends up just a 4k unit on your board. So you can at least get it off your board while turning it into a resource and gaining a little power out of it, instead of just having to, call something better on top of it. So next for the draws, we have 4 copies of Protection Magic Prorobi. So draw with a skill. If your opponent's Vanguard's grade 3 or greater, get shield plus 5,000. So your 10k shield draw trigger. And then for the heals, we have 4 copies of Healer of Heavenly Staff, Arches. So just the vanilla heal. Of course, if you want to run any effect heals, you can. And then lastly, for our over trigger, we have our 1 copy of Light Dragon Deity of Honors, Amartanoa. So his additional effect says until end of turn, you also perform drive checks for the battles your rear guards attack. So if you have a full front row of grade 3s, this should give you an extra 4 drive checks on that turn. So a plus 4 to your hand and a lot more trigger chances. So again, makes it very difficult for your opponent to guard everything. So a very, very powerful skill. So that is the deck. So we will go ahead and have our 1 fight with it. And I think we'll fight Masanori this time. And we will be going first. Alright, so I'll discard one of these Sparars to ride, and then just end our turn. And I'll let that one through. And we get a draw trigger. Alright, so I'll discard one of these Sapient Owls, I guess. to ride. And then we can use Fort skill to reveal 2 grade 3s from our hands. We'll reveal Alden and Sparar. And we actually find another Sparar on the top of the deck, so we'll superior call him. So we got a good call out of it. And then we'll just go ahead and attack with the Vanguard first. And then we can attack with Sparar. And he guards. And he uses Shadow Cloak to send death-inviting black magic to his drop. And another Shadow Cloak to send Tearful Malice. And then he plays a Tearful Malice from his hand. Which actually doesn't let him do much because he didn't have any face-down damage. But it does let him revive his roaming prison dragon. And give it 10 key. And I'll let that one through. And we get a crit trigger. So give that to the Vanguard. And he needs a trigger for that to hit, so I'll take the chance and let it through. Oh, and he got a crit trigger. So that's going to put us to 4, actually. And I think I'll let that one through. Alright, so we'll discard a crit, I guess. Right, Apex Ruler Bastion. And Rook skill will let us reveal 3 grade 3s from our hand. So Alden, Sparar, and Sapient Owl. Since he counts as a grade 3 in hand. And we'll get to draw 1 and we draw a heal trigger. Oh well. So we'll go ahead and call Alden over here. And use his ability to Counter Blast 2. And Soul Blast 1. And we'll superior call Sparar from our hand. And that'll let us draw 2. And we draw 2 Bastion Primes. So we actually have our Persona Ride combo set up for next turn. So I am just going to go ahead and attack with Sparar first. And he guards. So then I'll attack with Bastion. And we get a crit trigger. So crit to Bastion and power to Alden. And we get a draw trigger, which means we actually don't get our restand. So we'll give the power to Alden again. And we drew Forbid All. And he gets a crit trigger. And another crit on top of that. But fortunately, Alden still can potentially hit, so we'll attack with him. And his skill will give him another 5k. He lets that one through too. Well, we evened it up at 4-4. And use a Zorga skill to call Headhunter over top of Roaming Prison, so that'll reset him in the drop. And then he Alka Magics, Death Inviting Black Magic with Tearful Malice. So it gets to draw and revive Roaming Prison. He gains 10k and a crit. And let's see, I'll guard that with that crit. And he gets another crit trigger. He stacks it on Roaming Prison. And that is 3 crit, but it's only 25k. So we'll guard that with that heal. Alright, so I am going to go ahead and Persona Ride. And that'll let us draw and give 10k to our front row. And then I'm going to call Robrone from the hand back here. And we will use her ability to counterblast and send her to Soul. And then we can Superior Ride into our grade 4 Bastion Prime. So we still get the Persona Ride bonus, so our front row is powered up for the turn. So I am going to go ahead and play Forbidal Surrogate. And that will let us call any 2 grade 2s we want from the drop or the deck. So I'm going to call Rondalia and we'll call Flint. So we'll put Rondalia there, and Flint. We'll put Flint over here. So then we'll go ahead and use Rondalia's ability as well to shove her into Soul and give all our grade 3s boost until the end of turn. So then I think I will just go ahead and attack with Sparar first. And he guards. So then we'll attack with Alden, boosted by Flint. And Alden's skill, give him another 5k. And he gets a heal trigger, which he does get. But then we can attack with Bastion Prime. He guards with his over trigger. And we checked grade 3, so we get our restand. And we get a heal trigger, which we also get. So we will heal 1. And we'll give that power to Sparar. So now Bastion Prime's ability will let us send a Bastion from hand or soul to drop. So we will send one from our soul. And now let's restand all our rear guards. So that triggers Flint's ability to gain another 5k. As well as Sparar's ability to let us Soul Blast 2. And draw. So then we can attack with Sparar. That's that one through too. And he gets another heal trigger, which he also gets. Wow. So we'll attack once again with Alden, who again will gain 5k, to bring him to a whopping 78,000. But he can just take that one too, since he keeps healing. And he does get his Persona Ride, but at least we're back to 3 damage. And he Alchemagics Tearful Malice with Grief, Despair, and Rejection, which he actually won't get much out of Grief, Despair, and Rejection since he's only got 1 unit on the board to power up. But it let him reset his Roaming Prison. But he's still only getting 2 attacks. So, let's see, I believe I will let this one through, actually. And we get a crit trigger. And we just need 5 to block that, so I think I'll guard with one of these Sapient Owls. Alright, so we have no need to ride right now. So instead, I am going to go ahead and call Alden from my hand back here. And we'll use his ability to Counter Blast 2 and Soul Blast 1. And then we call one from our hand, so I'm going to call Sapient Owl. And we get to draw 2 since he counts as a grade 3. So then we use Sapient Owl's ability, and we can put a card from our drop into the soul. So we'll go ahead and put one of those Bastions. So that gives our Vanguard 5k, and we can countercharge. So then I'll activate the effect of Rondalia from the soul. And we can give one of our units boost, so I'm going to give that to Flint. And then I'm going to move Alden up, so Sparar's skill will give him an extra 5k. And I think we are good with that. So I will go ahead and attack with the left Alden first, boosted by Flint. And Alden's skill gives him an extra 5k. So then we'll attack with the right Alden. And again, he gains 5k thanks to his own skill. And then we can attack with Bastion Prime, boosted by Sapient Owl. And he perfect guards. And there's our grade 3, so we get our restand. And we get a crit trigger. So we'll give both those effects to our left Alden. So then Bastion Prime skill will let us send a Bastion from the soul to the drop. And we restand all our grade 3s and give them 10k. Which triggers Flint skill to gain another 5k on top of that. So then we'll attack with the left Alden, boosted by Flint. Which triggers Alden's skill again. Give him another 5k to make it 78,002 crit. Oh, and he perfect guards again. So then we'll attack with our right Alden, who again will gain another 5k. And he finally has to let it through. And we got him with that one. So there you go, that was version 2 of my Bastion deck. I really like how this deck plays now, especially being able to pull off that Persona Ride, Superior Ride combo. That's always very satisfying. So anyway, I will be back soon with more deck profiles. I believe next up I'll be doing version 2 of my Seraph Prison deck. So until then, I guess that's all for this video. So lots of luck to you and yours.